Eternia here, and welcome to another edition of Shifty Sunday. We got with you, Sagittarically speaking, and God's Armor on the broadcast here tonight. And we've got a couple special announcements. But first, let me ask you, gentlemen, how's your weekend going?
Good here. Had a family reunion today. Always fun. Lots of food.
All right. Family reunions are a good time.
Yeah. Get to see the old folk. We got some old in our family. My Aunt Mabel just turned 100 this year. There's some 99s, 98s. They live long and prosper in the Dunkel family.
Nice. Hey, E-Man's in the house. All right, good to see you, E-Man.
Howdy, E-Man.
Yes. Hello, E-Man.
I'll wait till we get more people in here before I make my announcement. But
we got an announcement.
Yeah. The captain always has to have an announcement. You hear him on the intercom there in the back. Got an announcement. Just tell us.
Are we expecting?
Hey.
We're expecting smooth skies this evening. No turbulence.
It's Lorraine Lamore in the house also. Howdy, Lorraine.
That's awesome. Had a good chat with her. You guys had a good chat with her, I should say, last night.
Yeah. And we did last week, too.
That's what I was saying. I was like, man, this story sounds awfully familiar. Wonder where I heard it before. It's a good story, though. You know.
It's definitely a trip.
More people heard it last night, I'm sure, than they did on our show. So,
yeah, and it resonated with the one in the chat room because she was also in customer service. Said that weird stuff like that happened to her too. Rosa, I think her name was Rosa.
So
I don't know. It's hard to keep up with all the names, but I'm pretty sure it was Rosa something.
Yeah, I agree. It was Rosa.
I think.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure.
Loud and clear. So what's going on in the world today, guys?
In the world, I don't know. I try to stay out of it as much as possible. I have no clue.
In which world do you refer? The one that we actually we're consciously aware of, or the constructed matrix that we pretend that we're in?
Howdy, Prelim in the house.
I would have to say the constructive mech. Why do I keep wanting to say mechanism? What did you say again?
The constructed matrix.
Matrix, yeah. The constructive matrix that we've surrounded ourselves with.
Well, I don't know that I surrounded myself with it, but it surrounds me nevertheless.
This is correct.
No, he was playing drums today. Well, cool. Let me ask you this. Do you play the drums like Animal from the Muppets?
Animal Road. I loved Animal.
Animal.
I used to have a stuffed animal I strapped to my bike when I rode. He always rode with me. He was on the...
Oh, really?
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
He was pretty cool.
Well, mine was
Do you still have a motorcycle? You still ride it?
I got 2 Harleys. I haven't rode in the last couple of years. Trying to sell them, actually.
Hey, man.
Yeah, ever since I got the weird Meniere's disease thing, it messes with your balance. So I don't trust myself to have the wife on the back, and I know if I ride, she's going to want to ride. So
understood. I mean, you could probably get away with like a, stay in a 5 to 10 mile radius, but I wouldn't take off on a long road trip or anything.
So
Yeah, we used to ride all over the place.
that air thing, I take it, messes with your balance then.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
But luckily, it hasn't flared up in quite a while. So, but you never know. If I ever get rich, I'll turn one of them into a trike, and I could ride again. But that takes, we turn my one buddies into a trike to get the good trike kit and everything. Probably looking at $7 to $10 grand total. That's with us doing all the work.
Wow, I would just say get a boat, man. Call it even.
Yeah.
Well,
But no, I had lots of fun when I rode. We seen lots of states. Did a lot of traveling.
so how's the produce business going?
Busy right now, busy season. Of course.
I
Let me.
went to the store today and I got some Haas avocados. Just saying.
Haas,
Yeah, Haas. Haas, however you pronounce it.
or was it spelt with the two S's or just one?
I have to go look. I just grabbed the ones that I knew were. I didn't pay that much. I wasn't paying that close of attention, to be honest with you. I thought it was two A's and one S.
Oh, I thought the effect was two, or it was. Well, I don't know anything much about avocado.
Well, I think that the change is now that it's one A and two S's, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what from what I saw on Scott's channel. What's it? His name? Shoot, I can see the mask.
You mean Guy?
Yeah, Guy Fawkes. Yeah, he was talking about the change of the avocados and had a very convincing video of a guy that made a video and had it the correct spelling, or maybe not the correct spelling, but the way everybody else remembers. But like I said, I'm not a huge avocado guy, so I don't know. I don't know too much.
You reminded me that I have a ME story. I remembered recently. I just like how sometimes certain things happen, and it just kind of like I don't know. Over time, it just kind of floats out of your memory bank. Well, I remembered something one time when I experienced the Mandela effect before I knew the Mandela effect existed. And I didn't realize at the time that I was experiencing the quote unquote Mandela effect because I didn't even know there was one that you could experience. I just thought that people were purposefully being rude and ignoring me when I questioned the change because nobody answered my query as to why it was different. And I'll explain later when I tell the story. I mean, if you want me to tell it now, I can.
Well, you can, but let's go ahead and give the room a quick shout out before you get deep into that story. And then I also want to make an announcement real quick. But go ahead and God's Armor, would you like the honors of doing a quick shout out?
Sure, brother. And I definitely want to hear Sadie's story after the big announcement. We got Pre-La Minimal in the house with the wrench. New Kingdom coming. Lorraine Lamore, and E-Man 31. I think that's the only four in the house chatting at the moment anyhow. Welcome, everybody.
All right, cool. Good job, man. As usual.
Thank you. I try.
That's what you do best, man. The shout outs and the rooster call. Wasn't going to bring up the rooster call, but why not?
Sure, you weren't sure.
No, but hey, you know what? Got a huge announcement, and here it goes. I know there's.
Oh wait. Oh yeah,
Oh,
go ahead now.
oh, okay. I
You got
realize.
a drum roll? We need a drum roll.
I just wanted to know, like, uh, how long has this been the case? Are you that you're about to tell us? Have you known since you were a child, or did you just recently find out?
That was premature. Sorry about that. Uh, Ever since I was a little lad, I've known about this for a long time now.
A wee lad.
Oh yeah, that's
He
right.
heals.
Guess if I'm gonna do, I should do it right. A wee lad. But now, I know we only got 4 watching, but I gotta say this: we're gonna have a contest, and I don't know if we're gonna start if we want to start it this week or maybe next week. I guess we can go ahead and start it this week. But it's come up with a slogan, and whoever can come up with the best slogan wins a free T-shirt, and that T-shirt will have your slogan on it that we've chose the winner. You know, have that slogan, and not only that, but your name will be on the T-shirt as well. So look out for that.
Or whatever name you choose.
Right, whatever name they want on it, I guess, or whatever they want on it. If they want something else on it, they can have whatever it is. Just shoot me an email and
You might want to tell them what they're picking a slogan for.
well, Shifty,
Yeah, you'd be a tad bit more specific.
Shifty Sunday. The Shifty Sunday.
Like give an example. What do you mean? Like a slogan, like a catchphrase for our show? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, I mean basically, because I'm wanting to make T-shirts, but I'm wanting to have a certain thing on them that catches the spirit of the show. Like,
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
I could throw ideas out there, but now I don't want to influence anyone's thinking. Just saying.
All right, so then the T-shirt will say Shifty Sunday. Then underneath that, it'll say whatever it is that the raffle or contest winner comes up with, and then on their particular T-shirt that they win, you'll also include a name of their choosing.
Right. So, like I said again, yes, you submit it in chat, or if you have my email, you could shoot me an email, or you could shoot God's Armor an email, or Sagittarically Speaking if he wants to give out his email.
And if you think of it after the show, you can just leave it in the comments section below as well.
Are the comments still up after we go off air?
Yeah, usually on your videos they are. I have never seen where you've had comments disabled.
SS in the house, by the way. Yeah, I'd
A
say
little
just
S and big S?
send an email to Hebrew, or my email is always out there, godsarmor1 at Hotmail. Or like Sadie said, just leave it in a comment under the video. How long are you going to run it? Are we going to run it like for the whole month of August and then the beginning of September choose a winner, or how you doing that part?
That sounds like a good idea. That gives people plenty of time to think of it, and a couple shows for them to listen in and know that we're even having a contest.
We could run it through the middle of September if you want to, like September 16th or 15th or something.
We'll do the drawing, whatever the first Sunday in September is.
That's true. Yeah, we could do it. Yeah, we'll do it on Sunday, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me put my email up on the screen so that everybody has it. And while I'm doing that, Sagittarically Speaking has a story to tell y'all. Oh, sorry, wrong button. I'm sorry. I really didn't. I didn't mean to do that.
Blame it on the dog. It's all good.
Right, blame that one on the dog. Now, just to clarify, that was not me. I mean, it was me, but it wasn't It didn't come out of my body. Never mind. I'm making it worse, aren't I?
You don't sound as convincing as you should. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Well, I don't have a cue for you to do your story, but I'll give you one of these after you're done. So,
If you insist.
Sure.
All right.
Story
So
time.
basically, it's not really a story time, and in the sense that I'm reading a story. I'm just recalling a chain of events that occurred where I experienced a Mandela effect before. This was probably 5 years before I even knew the Mandela effect existed. This is probably 2016, mid 2016. I'm
Cool.
guessing. Yeah. So my father-in-law retires from his job, and he wants to go. He's got a friend, an acquaintance that works for the Ford dealership, and so his friend or his acquaintance is going to give him his employee discount. So he decides he's going to go buy a. He's always leased cars when he was a salesman and he traveled a lot. As a salesman, he would have to go to different conventions and whatnot. So he always leased cars most of his adult career, his life, or whatever. And so this was his first time actually purchasing a vehicle, so to speak. And I offered to go with him because I wanted to just see the new what the new Fords looked like, and I knew he had already made up his mind he was going to get an Explorer, and that what color he was going to get, and blah blah blah. So I knew it wasn't going to be. I didn't expect it to turn into an all-day event. I figured at the most we'd be down there 3 or 4 hours, and so I decided to go with him because I knew uh, I knew he'd probably let me. He'd probably let me drive it back because he he is a he I knew that he would he I knew that he's an alcoholic, and by the time we were done, before we got done, he would probably be his hands would be shaking and he would be wanting a drink, and I'd probably get to drive the car home. I know that that's that's wrong on one level, but it's right on another level because it's him not drinking and driving. So I was actually looking out for him in that regard. So anyway, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is we're on our way to the Ford dealership. And we get there, and I'm in the showroom. And boy, do they have a really nice showroom. They got I think it's the Eddie Bauer edition of the Ford Mustang in the showroom. I think that's what it's called. Is that right, guys? Do you know?
Yeah, Eddie Bauer.
Yeah. I noticed the logo. I noticed that the Ford logo, the F had the loop on it. While I'm looking at this Eddie Bauer edition Ford logo, Ford Mustang, and I'm like, oh well, this must be something fancy because it's this fancy Eddie Bauer edition, right? So then I go and I look at another Ford, and then I see the one that he's going to get. We go outside and we're looking at the one they had it sent in or whatever, and I see that it has the curly F as well. So I asked the salesman, I go, when did you guys change the logo to change the F on your Ford logo? And he looked at me, but he didn't answer me. He just looked at me, like kind of gave me a look. And so I'm like, and he proceeded like that, pretend like I didn't even say anything, and continue willing and dealing with my father-in-law. And so then we're sitting down at the desk where he's signing basically signing his life away to buy this car, and I mention it again because he didn't answer me the first time, and he looks up at me and he gives me this weird glare, and I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he proceeds to like just change the subject by asking him what something about the financing on the vehicle, blah 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 blah. Something else about the contract and if he wants the certain coverage on this or that or whatever. But anyway, I realize now. I just recently remembered that I had that epiphany when I was there and I was experiencing it, and I wonder, I can't be the only person who ever walked into this Ford dealership, noticed that the F was different, and asked the salesman why it changed. And I'm curious as to, now looking back, I assume he was purposely avoiding the answer because he didn't really have one for me, because he really couldn't tell me that they ever changed the logo, because they never did. According to the official Ford narrative, the logo has always been that way. But uh, I now remember experiencing a Mandela effect before I knew the Mandela effect existed, and I remember leaving there feeling like scratching my head and feeling really feeling a that the guy was kind of rude, that he never would answer it, and b feeling kind of disoriented in the fact that nobody else seemed to notice it but me. So that's really all I got. I mean, I could see how now that I know that the Mandela effect exists, and there's this platform that we have created where we could share and we could talk about it. I could Now it makes everything makes a lot more sense, and I don't know. I guess it can create it. I guess it's one of those things where I realize now that it's kind of like uh, a support group we have here for each other, for lack of a better word, because without us all kind of creating a community or a collective, there would just be a whole bunch of people out there aimlessly scratching their head, wondering why everything seems so strange.
Yeah. Lorraine in the chat, I know you can't see chat. She asked, when did you say this happened? What year?
I would say it was probably like the summer of 2016, 2017 at the latest. But
Hmm.
I'm thinking it was probably like September, August or September of 2015 or 16.
Cool.
Wow.
Can't imagine how many times that dude got asked that, probably. That's probably
Yeah,
why he was like trying to avoid it. He's probably like, I don't even want to hear about it.
yeah, I'm sure that it probably, like, whenever it first happened and people were, I'm sure other people have to walk in there and say it, because it's not like I'm the only person ever who would notice.
That happened around 2016, huh?
Yeah, to the best of my recollection, I would have to call him and ask him what day he bought his
Right.
car to know the exact date.
That seems about right, though. I mean, that's about the time. That's about the time I started noticing the Mandela effect, anyway.
Yeah, 2015-16 seems to be a pivotal time for a lot of us.
Armor up. I gotta tell you, man. I like all your different avatars you're popping up in there. Those look awesome.
Cool, yeah. I just threw a
Hey,
bunch
you
of
picked out
pictures
some
in there.
good ones.
Yeah, they don't quite fit the screen, but
So, since I'm just asking, I don't expect you guys to do this right now, but since this is StreamYard and Hebro has StreamYard on his computer, it seems that he should be able to do manipulate, take the program, whatever it is we're using, and manipulate mine as well for me.
Well,
now it all runs through your camera.
Oh, okay.
You have no control on your camera, basically.
I see. All right. Well, I'll look into it more, between now and next week, to see if there is something out there for Android. It seems like some computer guy out there somewhere should have been writing some code for it.
Howdy, Oiler Greg. And Jocko R
Oh,
popped in the house earlier also.
all right.
World Lion Day yesterday. Really? Huh.
Cool.
That's interesting.
World Lion Day. Yeah, pretty interesting.
Man, I want to talk about something. We kind of touched a little bit on that last night, but we didn't go in the full detail. Um, Sagittarically speaking, do you know what I'm talking about?
You're going to have to give me just a little bit more to work with than that.
There's a certain brand, and it came up, and we started to talk about it, but it was getting really late, and a lot of us had to go, and there wasn't too many people watching, so we all went to bed and stuff. But at the end of the show, we were talking about this particular brand and how it seems to me like it would be a new Mandela effect. If I
All
can
right.
if I can look it
Uh,
up in your the Hangouts, I can tell you exactly what it was.
all right. Can you give me a hint as to like what kind of brand it is? Like, is it food? Is it
It had to do with food. I'm sure of
all
that,
right?
but I'm not sure if it was mandarin oranges or if it was the grapes that you were talking about.
I don't remember either one of those, sir.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about the spelling of mandarin oranges had changed.
I mean, maybe we did. Maybe it's just slipped my mind. Are you
Okay,
sure it
well,
was with me that you had this conversation?
oh yeah, we talked about it the whole night. Well, not the whole night, but at the bottom of the show. Maybe someone in chat can remember if let's see, Jocko was in chat and Euler Greg was in chat. Let's see if they can remember what we were talking about. We touched on it a little bit when you were talking about the cave of
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I was just being sidetracked because I was focused on that and I didn't pick up on the oranges thing.
man, you hit on, I mean, you were right on target with everything last night. It was like your brain just switched on out of, and you were pulling stuff. I don't even know where you're getting it from, but you were doing an excellent job. I just got to commend you for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I felt like I was taking forever to spit it out, but then once I finally got to the point of what I was trying to say, it started to cohesively gel a little bit. But I appreciate the kind words, nevertheless.
Do you want to cover a little bit about what we talked about last night since there's more watching tonight?
Um,
And maybe God's art?
yeah, not. I mean, I think I'm not really set up to do it. I would have to go back to it all over again. So I
Oh,
guess I'm not really in a place to do that. But I mean, we can talk about it again if you want to.
I really don't want to look all that stuff up again, but yeah, you're talking about Plato.
Well, we were talking about the allegory of the cave, God's armor. Basically,
Plato's Cave, yeah.
yeah, when I first came into the truther community, um, I heard what I would hear certain terminologies being floated around a lot, and allegory was one of them. And I'm like, what in the heck is a dang allegory, and how come I don't know what it is? So I made a point of googling it. You know, I read the 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 mystery of the cave, the allegory of the cave, and I saw the diagram where they show the cavemen sitting in front of the, you know, they're being tied down and they're being shown only the shadows of, you know, what their captor is showing them. So their whole life, their whole reality is whatever, you know, illusions they create for them in this cave with the backlighting and the shadows. And then, you know, then all of a sudden one of the one of the captors is, you know, let loose of his chains and allowed to walk out of the cave. And when he does, you know, he's experiencing cognitive dissonance because the reality that he believed was true his whole life all of a sudden is totally false, and his brain's having a real hard time accepting all this new information, you know. And the best example I could come up with, to try to make it like, I guess put it in layman's terms or whatever, was I was talking about, like, imagine that you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and your parents sit you down and they explain to you that you're adopted. Your whole life you believe that this was your biological mother and father. They sit you down and tell you that they're not, that we found you along the train tracks when you were just a baby. That you would hear the words coming out of their mouth as they're explaining this to you, but cognitive dissonance would kick in real quick, and you would probably not really it probably wouldn't really sink in as the words are entering your mind, like, or your ear. You would have a hard time accepting that new truth, that new reality. And it would probably take you. You'd have to go through different phases of acceptance to even come to terms with it, and all different, myriad of emotions you would go through upon receiving that information. That's kind of like what cognitive dissonance is. The stronger your values or your belief system is weighed into the reality that you're vested into, the harder it is for you to accept the new information, no matter how valid it really is, because it's easier for you to accept, a lie than it is than it is for your brain to accept the fact that you've been deceived all this time. It's really it's really a psychological thing, and you experience. And it seems like whenever the Mandela effect is infamous for creating this effect when you're trying to explain one to somebody, because even if it resonates with them, they don't necessarily want to believe that it's true, even as you're showing them the proof that it is. So. I basically just wanted to cover what cognitive dissonance is, what allegory is, and just a few of the different terminologies that you hear. And I think that's something that we'll do from time to time, especially on our Monday talks or whatever.
Mhm.
When I've had time to prepare something, I'll pick out a few different truther terminologies, and we will go a little more in depth on exactly what they are and the proper way to use them. Because it seems like people also not only use these terminologies, but they also misuse and abuse them and exaggerate them, and kind of distort them a little bit as well. Use them a little too loosely. For example, the cabal and the deep state, and white hats and all that kind of stuff. I mean, when you're in a chat room and you see people texting and typing the stuff, a lot of times you're really not sure exactly what they mean.
Yeah, definitely. Texting is not the best way to communicate,
No.
and especially to try to get a point across to someone. That's for sure.
Can you guys see what I got on my screen here?
Yep.
What I wanted
Yes, but it's very small.
I wanted to speak a little bit about. Is it really?
Oh no, it isn't. I see it now.
Okay.
Because yeah, go ahead.
What I wanted to explain to everybody. This is an action figure that I made. It's a custom action figure of God's armor, and I want to know what everyone thinks of it.
I
I'm
think
gonna,
he's got a really cool shield.
yeah. The only thing I haven't added to it just yet is the wings, so it's not really complete. I just wanted to get everyone's opinion on it that's out there watching.
Well, I guess the most important thing is armor. What do you think of it?
He already showed it to me. It's pretty cool.
All right.
I like how enthusiastic he is about it.
Well,
Does it have a button on its back when you press it? It does a rooster crow.
You know,
that would be impressive.
that's right. I should. That's what I'll do is I'll record one of the ones he did for the show, and then
That'll be his battle cry when he goes into battle.
there you go. Yeah. But I'm going to use this announcement, by the way. We're bringing back the Mandela family, those videos. A lot of people that are new probably don't know about these videos, but there are stop motion videos that I do using certain members of the community in the Mandela family. And they're goofy little, silly little videos that I do.
That are fun to watch and very, very, very funny. That I
Yeah,
remember. That's how I found your channel was because of those videos. So I
yeah,
enjoy them quite much.
they're good. I've been waiting for the next season.
Well, the next season starts in October, so be looking for that one. And I have one for Dan too. I've got a Rambo figure. He's not quite fleshed out yet, but I've got him in the works. Just wanted to point that out, point that out to everybody. So.
Definitely got to have his bandana.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think it goes without saying that yours will be He-Man, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
It'll be better than Castle Grayskull. I don't want to get started on that joke again.
All right.
So.
Yeah, don't go back to the castle.
Yeah, let's just pretend like you didn't say that and keep moving.
Okay.
Roll
Sounds
on,
good.
brother.
Sounds
Roll.
good.
What are you going to do for Saggy? We need a Saggy.
I haven't really thought about that. I have maybe like a star or something, or
Yeah, we need.
oh yeah.
I was thinking you were going to say like a horseman or something. Like
Ooh. Well, I'm trying to get close to everyone's avatar, so.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Keeping it real. If I could just find like a little tiny statue of the thinker, then I would have Noble right
Noble,
there.
yeah.
Well, right now I don't have an avatar. I'm just saying.
Oh. Well, I meant like your old avatar.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little something to put up there. Oh man, I'm small now. How did that happen? There we go.
I liked it better the other way.
Did you?
Yeah, then all the picture fit.
Yeah.
How about that way?
That is.
There you go.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Yeah, but now my face is covered up.
Your face ain't covered up. What are you talking about?
Oh. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the number count and the time we've been on. Sorry.
Oh yeah, we don't see that.
Well, we got 12 people in here. Do you guys wish to open up the phone lines just yet, or?
We can. I got them ready. Hopefully they're working. So we never guarantee anything.
No time like the present.
Unless Saji has a story he wants to tell us. He told us
We got to save that for the end. Story time should be.
Yeah, we do that after we take some calls.
Okay, well, I'll put the number up in the banner and
like the story time for bedtime story. So at the end of the show.
Let's see here.
Okay, yeah, you should have the number so you can put it up. It should be ready.
Let me
do this. Remember, there's no guarantees. But I think
he wants to be whoever calls in first gets to be our guinea pig.
Yeah, guinea pig of the week. Last week it was a little goofy, but I don't know why. Everything should be.
Do the settings go back to a default setting every time you restart it, and you have to redo everything, or do they remember where you left them?
No. You mean when I first start the program that we use?
Yeah.
No, you pretty much gotta. There's 5 different things you gotta open up and run.
Okay.
That you gotta set.
But I mean, when you open those things up to run them, do they go back to a can you save the settings once you get it set up the way you want to? So every time you launch it, it goes back to those settings. Is what I'm asking.
You can save them, but the last week's the first time I tried using the saved ones, and we had a little bit of problem. So this
Okay.
week I just redid them all by hand. So we'll see.
Gotcha.
But
All right.
supposedly you could save it.
And if anybody wants to plug their channel, I'll be more than happy to do that as well. We can put a link in the chat, or we can put it up here, or you can mention it when you call in. So there you go.
Right. And if you're just listening and not visually able to see it for whatever reason, the number is 720-835-5825. That's 720-835-5825. The PIN number you'll need once you dial the number is 64559. That's 64559. All right.
Look, it's sad you old professional. I like it.
Yeah, I was looking all professional last night with my tie around my head.
Oh yeah, I missed it.
I had this 70s looking tie. Well, it actually kind of matches the same colors as that couch that I have your action figure against.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he had mentioned something about before the show about it making it look more professional. So I told him that he should just put on a suit and a tie.
Yeah.
And so then he went to his closet and he found this one tie that was already tied, and he couldn't find a suit. So the tie, he decided just to wear it like a headband. He only left it on for a few minutes, but it was kind of funny.
We were being silly. It was late. It was real late.
Yeah, it was after Scarab last night. It was the Scarab performance after party.
Uh-huh.
I imagine you went straight to bed.
No, actually, I worked a little bit on the Wednesday word video and worked some more on it today, and now I got Deuce finish it up.
Cool.
Yeah, I wasn't up too late last night. Lorraine said she was worried at first. She thought you might be trying to hang yourself.
Huh? No, I get that reference, though. We were talking about all the people hanging themselves here lately, which is kind of weird, man, when you think about how much weight you'd have to. How the heck do you hang yourself from a doorknob? That just don't make sense.
Yeah, and there's certain things I don't even really like to put my mind into that mode, like of even thinking about it. Like it's better, because certain thoughts I could analyze such a thing, but why would I want to?
Well, it's just because they were talking about what's his name that supposedly, right? Like he
Yeah, but do you buy into that? I mean, really? Anything that they're going to tell you if it's coming out of the mouth of C and then if it's got a C, an N, an M, a B, or an S, it's all you're seeing BS. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Hey, I heard you had a good frog story.
Yeah, we were going to do it after the call-ins, assuming that the phone rings.
Well, I mean, it's short enough. You could tell it like before.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you really want me to, since the phone isn't ringing off the hook or anything.
Nah, the phone's not ringing off the hook. I don't think. I'm not there, so I don't know.
Nope, no calls yet.
All right.
Let's see here.
Eddie asked, "Is Bill Clinton trying to eliminate Hebrew?" Yeah.
If you ever get on that list, you won't last long. Let's just put it that way. Very few people do.
Yeah, they're pretty quick.
So the story is called A Group of Frogs.
Ribbit.
And there's a group of frogs that were traveling through the woods, and two of them fell into a deep pit. When the other frogs crowded around the pit and saw how deep it was, they told the two frogs that there was no hope left for them. However, the two frogs decided to ignore what the others were saying, and they proceeded to try and jump out of the pit. Despite their efforts, the group of frogs at the top of the pit were still saying that they should just give up, that they'll never make it out. Eventually, one of the frogs took heed to what the others were saying, and he gave up, falling down to his death. The other frog continued to jump as hard as he could. Again, the crowd of frogs yelled at him to stop the pain, and just die. He jumped even harder and finally made it out. When he got out, the other frog said, "Did you not hear us?" The frog explained to them that he was deaf. He thought they were encouraging him the entire time.
Yeah,
So, what's the moral of the story?
it's all in your point of view.
Yep, people's words definitely can affect your um, can affect you can can affect your
Confidence.
determination. I mean, a lot of times people telling you you can't do it can work to give you more motivation if you leverage it properly. But sometimes people not believing that you vocalizing their disbelief in your efforts can discourage you as well. So
I think maybe if they had. Oh, wait, he was deaf. I was going to say if they had played the Rocky music for him, he might have had more motivation.
well, the other guy might have made it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the other guy. I was just imagining like Kermit and his nephew just now for some reason.
One second, caller. I got you muted at the moment. We got a caller on the line when you're ready.
All
Yeah,
right.
ready.
We're ready when you are.
All right, caller. How you doing?
Hi, it's Lorraine. How are you?
Good. Howdy, Lorraine.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story. I hadn't heard that one before. It says a lot. It reminds me of like Aesop's fables.
Yeah. Can you guys hear Lorraine?
She's coming in a little bit low, but I can hear her. How about you?
Yeah, she's a little faint. It would if you can turn her up a little bit, that would be awesome.
I don't think I can control their volume at all that I know of.
Well, I'll try to talk closer to the phone. Today I happened to be on Google Maps and I looked at the planet and it looked to me like South America is even farther east than it was. Has anyone else noticed that?
I haven't looked like today or anything to see that it's changed even further, but I do agree with you that it literally looks like like when you like when like a like let's imagine like the ink gets wet on a picture and someone takes their finger and smudges it to the right. That's literally what it looks like. It looks like like God himself has kind of took South America and said, you know what? Let's just move it just a little bit more over to the east, and everything just kind of got pushed that way. You can almost even see the fingerprint itself, and like right there where the Panama Canal is.
Well, I knew even as a kid I could tell that the South American East Coast and the West Coast of Africa were the same shape. So I figured they had been connected at some point or they just matched like puzzle pieces. But it's like it's heading back to Africa. And I thought, well, is this like a younger version of Earth where the plate tectonics have not moved the continents apart as far as we're used to? Is that perhaps it? And I wonder if someone or something in the universe has the power to move us to a new Earth, why didn't they just get every detail right? I mean, how could you be that powerful but then not? make it noticeable that we're like, hey, why is Sicily so close to Italy right now? That's bizarre.
Yeah, definitely strange. And I know Noble and Lone and the ones that do all the geography stuff a lot. That is one of the theories that possibly we shifted to a newer type of Earth, like you said, an Earth where the continents haven't moved completely to where they're supposed to yet. It seems to be a shrinking, though, Earth. They've also talked about that. I mean, there's so many theories, so many possibilities.
Yeah. And I wondered if it is smaller, that could be why it seems sometimes like time is going by fast.
Yeah, exactly. That would
Yeah, the one rotation actually takes less time than it used to, and so the day goes by faster. That's kind of what I've noticed, but I also think it could be because I'm better rested, and not dragging through the day so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all those theories are definitely up in the air and have been talked about. And who knows? We really don't know. But yeah, that would explain the time speeding up and explain a lot of weird things. But
Have you guys played? I don't know if has anybody else on the line or in on our panel or even in chat remember playing Risk when they were younger?
wait,
The game Risk.
yeah, wait a minute. You both were talking now.
Oh well, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say the map on Risk. That's the way I remember things. The
Yeah.
way it's depicted on that game.
Yep, exactly.
You still have the game, and can we look at the map?
I don't know. Can one of you guys bring it up? I'm sure it's on Google. The Risk map game.
I will try.
Well, that, and if you could look up the current map of Google, the way it's shown, that would be helpful. I'm afraid to look up the distances that I know because I'm afraid I'll look at something like my hometown and see some big change and be
Well, me and Dan on Scarab's channel, we talked about this quite a while ago, not live, but just privately. Me and Dan talked about it. Oh man, probably a year or more ago. And I started looking up because, like I was saying, I think it was before we started about being me and my wife. We used to ride a good bit, and we've traveled a lot to a lot of different places. And I know how long it took to get there because I was always the one planning the route and driving and figuring the times and the hours and the miles. And once Dan started asking me about that, about if I noticed things were closer, I started looking at the trips we had made and how I would make them now. I basically pulled up, MapQuest or whatever, and planned the route just like I would have before. Now I realize there are new roads that are built and speed limits change and all that, but taking all that into consideration, I looked up how far it was, for instance, from here to the Outer Banks to the motel we stayed in. And I remember how long it took us before because, like I said, I planned it all that. And it was actually an hour closer and I think 100 miles closer than it was when we had done the trip years ago. Not still using the exact same roads, everything the exact same, and the speed limits hadn't changed. You know what I mean? But now it was telling me that I could get there an hour quicker, and it was way shorter. So I thought, well, that's a little strange. So I looked up Texas because we had just went to Texas a few years before that. So I picked a spot in Texas that we had been to. It was over 2 hours shorter and 300 miles closer than it was when we had just taken the trip. Same exact roads, same exact speed limits, same exact route. My mind was totally blown. I mean, I was freaking out. Me and Dan I was like, dude, this is crazy. I know how long it took us to go to these places. I did it many times. You know what I mean? I planned these out. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that for whatever weird reason, America smaller than it was. I can travel east, west, north, or south to places quicker than I used to. And not because of speed limits or new roads. Using the exact same routes at the exact same speeds, things are closer than they used to be.
Have you made trips and you've compared? Because I'm wondering if there's maybe some crazy glitch with Google Maps where it doesn't calculate things right.
Well,
Because it is a confusing.
yeah, that's definitely true. And no, I haven't redone any of those trips yet. I mean, we are planning on going back to the Outer Banks one of these days, in one of these years, and doing another trip to Tennessee where we go. That's another one that was now an hour closer than it used to be. So I'll know when I do redo them, but yeah.
Maybe we'll save money on gasoline.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. But it's definitely weird. It's definitely, I mean, and me, like, I drive for a living, so I pay attention to these things.
Yeah.
But if you're someone like that, if you've actually went a distance, I'd say at least 500 to 1,000 miles. The further, the bigger the change will be. I have noticed that. But if you know for sure you used to drive from point A to point B, and it was so many miles, look it up now and see if it changed for you. It'll probably blow your mind, because it definitely changed for me every way. It wasn't like just any one direction either. It was multiple directions.
And as you look at the globe, the map of the globe, to me it looked like we're farther north than we were. And that it just seemed like we seemed like closer to the top than it was cold. And maybe that's why the gap's not there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree though. I definitely agree that the equator and all that don't seem to be where it used to be. I mean, when you look at where the deserts are now, they don't line up with where the equator is, and that's why they were deserts. You know what I mean? It don't really make much sense anymore when you look at that kind of stuff.
Ecuador was named that because it was the equator went through it.
Yeah.
Ecuador. I haven't looked up Ecuador, but that would be a good point of reference.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, everything's very strange with the maps and the earth but again, we're relying on man-made things we don't really know. We're just going by what we're being showed, so who knows?
We could find out it's just one funny little glitch that shrinks all the distances by a certain percentage or something stupid like that. I wouldn't be surprised. Because I haven't gone off in a plane and use whatever they do to figure out maps in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's all I really have. The same thing is when I'm on the phone, I can't also be on there's a time delay, so I can't keep watching and listening to the other page and think, here, I'm using my phone for this.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't mute the live feed, it'll echo back through also. So.
Yeah. And one last thing for the guys. The capital of A is capital A. The capital of B is capital B. Capital of C is capital C. I don't know what to think.
They're not saying anything.
Yeah, they probably don't understand or they hear me clearly and they don't understand how I think it's a joke. All right, I'm going to go. Have a great night, everyone.
All right, Lorraine.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I was on mute. I was trying to get to my mute button, but couldn't get there fast enough. I sent in our chat on here. I see what you brought up there, Hebrew, and that's I think a current a current online, like the current risk. But I found the classic game board, and I put a link to it in our chat. I don't know if anybody can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. The one that you have up though looks a lot more realistic than Google Earth does.
Yeah.
Except for how they got everything kind of, a little smushed together there with Africa and Europe.
Yeah.
But as far as like North America and South America,
Yeah. And Australia is the land down under again.
yeah.
That's how.
I mean, I realize that it's not really meant to be, a super accurate depiction, but I
Right.
do think they get the North and South America. I think they kind of nailed that. I don't know if you guys could see, if you could see the link I shared in our chat.
Yeah, I'm watching the call center at the moment, so I can't see it.
Right. But what was it she was saying at the end? The capital C is C. What was she saying there, Armor?
She said the capital of A is A, the capital of B is B, and the capital of C is C.
Oh, okay. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Well, I think we're a man short.
Oh, the capital of A is capital A. That's right. Capital of B is capital B.
Oh, okay.
Capital of C is capital C. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Hebrew. He's gone mute on us.
I mean, I can tell that he's still here. I guess because he's trying to do that stuff with the link. Maybe he's just preoccupied.
He does get easily distracted.
I didn't even realize I was on mute. I was saying you didn't send it to Shifty Sunday.
No, I put it in our actual Yard Stream chat.
Oh, okay. Okay. Private chat.
Yes.
Well, I can't click it.
All right.
I can't click that for some reason. It's not letting me do it.
I mean, I don't know. I could copy it again, but I have to leave to go to the other chat.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can copy it and paste it.
That's what I would. Yeah, that's what you should do.
I'll do it. All right. Click. Copy. And where am I going to send it to?
You just put it up in the URL and then paste it.
Okay.
Not the StreamYard one, though.
Not the StreamYard one. Open a Google window.
Well, I'm trying the best that I can. Toolbars. No. Come on. How come it won't let me do it? Search the web. I guess I'll put it in there. What the heck? Okay, I'm trying to. It's an image. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, let me target. Well, you're gonna have me buying something, aren't you?
I mean, they do sell that game at Target. If you're interested, I'm sure they have a great price on it.
Let me get out of Target. I tried to zoom in on it and it sent me to Target is what happened.
Well, when you went to zoom in on it, it probably is an active link, the image itself.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But I can screen share the whatchamadoodle.
Or you could just, it might let you download the image, but then you'll have to remember where you downloaded it to. We've been down this road before.
Yeah, we have. All right, I'm just going to screen share the sucker.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I'm huge. I didn't mean to click that. Let me get out of there. Ooh, thank God.
You know, the best thing about us doing all this is you're learning. So someday when we have, over 100 viewers, you should have learned how to do it by then.
By then, yeah. You're so right on that. Now, where did it go? Oh, here. There we go. Do you see it?
Yeah, but you're like, it's like you got it in Zoom.
Yeah.
But there, you see where it's North America. Don't that look more accurate?
Sure
The
enough.
way you remember it, guys.
It's a lot closer, yeah.
Yeah.
This just makes me want to play Risk.
All right. Well, I'm down.
They have online games of Risk, don't they?
I used to be part of a giant Risk community online. Over a couple hundred members. We played all the time. We had rankings and all kind of stuff.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh wow, you just echoed.
I heard that.
So I got a question for you guys, real quick.
All right.
What? Okay, when you're talking about the story of Adam and Eve,
You come out of the blue, man.
no,
Like, I didn't see that. We're looking at Risk, and you go straight to Adam and Eve.
Well, I was thinking about it because I'm eating these fig bars, right?
Oh, okay.
And I was wondering something. Now, in the Bible, when they have the children's Bible, they have pictures of it. They have the tree, and of course, they have Adam and Eve with the fig leaves on. Which, by the way, those look way bigger than any fig leaves I've ever seen in my life. But not having come across too many fig leaves in my lifetime, I can't be too good of a judge about that. But here's my question. Why is the fruit always depicted as an apple?
I don't know that it is. I mean, I don't think that in the Bible it specifies what kind of fruit it really is. Am I correct, Armor?
Yeah, it don't say anything about the type of fruit. That's why. Yeah. That's why I don't think it was a physical fruit at all. I think it's exactly what it said it is. It's the fruit of knowledge of good and evil.
I see.
They ate of his training, more or less, would be an easy way to put it. Oh, my opinion.
Here's my second part of that question is, and you can scold me if I'm wrong about this, but so that was what was considered original sin. So before that time, man had not sinned at all. And my question is, there's a lot of people, like when you talk to non-believers or you talk to atheists or agnostics or whatever about it, their hugest question about it is, why did God put those trees square dead middle in the center of the garden in the first place? And the second part of that question would be like, or my, not question, but my answer to them was always that he was testing them to see if they would obey him. Would always be my answer. But I want to know, God's Armor, what from your perspective, what you think of that whole story.
Well, that would be super deep to try to get into. But basically, in my opinion, the Father wanted a real relationship, real love. And the only way to have real love is to give people the opportunity to love you or not love you. So the only way to have the opportunity to love him or not love him was the opportunity to make a choice to do what he said or not what he said. Like I said, I'm trying to condense this down to very simple stuff. But again, it all depends on what you think those trees are, what they represent. That plays a big part into what I think. But because I don't think they represent trees that bared fruit. I think they represented two different paths. The tree of life, who do we know is the way, the truth, and the life? Jesus is the tree of life. We're branches in his tree. We're grafted into him. There's so many symbolism that points to Jesus being the tree of life. And who is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Well, that would be the enemy. So I don't think necessarily they were actual trees. I think they were choices of who we'd listen to. Just like we battle today, we got choices. It's in our mind. We decide who we're listening to. Are we choosing life or are we choosing death? Same thing. Jesus said all this stuff, and I think that all was represented by the trees clean back then. But again, this is all just my opinion. This is not something you're going to probably hear in a church anywhere, unfortunately. But I think it all comes down to choices. And the reason we had to have choices is because he wanted us to choose to love him. He didn't want to make us love him. Love doesn't make you love it. They want you to choose to love them. It's a two-way street. So we had to have a choice. And I think the enemy was more than happy to give us a choice. He set himself up to be God anyhow. We do know that. No one ever questions when, but yeah, I think a whole lot ties into that story back there. Like I said, that I can't possibly even begin to discuss. But yeah, it was all basically because the only way for us to choose love is to have a choice. We can't choose love if it's the only option we got.
I'm glad that's a very good, well put way of saying that, man. I never really heard it said quite that way before, and never really thought of it quite that way before. Here, let me let Saji back in. He hopped out somehow. We lost him. Here he goes. But because I always never really put free will into the equation, but I guess I always should have. When I'm really thinking about that story, I always just think, well, why the heck? I don't think that now, but way back when, I used to think, why the heck did he put those trees there? Why did God, why did he create the devil? And actually, a lot of people don't realize that the devil wasn't the devil at the beginning, or the devil, or Satan, I should say, rather. Satan was a fallen angel. He was an angel that was jealous of God's power and wanted all that power for himself. I know I'm putting it simple, and I'm not saying it exactly the way the story is told, but I always thought about that, and it does have a lot to do with free will. And he wasn't jealous of God's power. I'm sorry. He was jealous of humans, because God gave humans the gift of creation. Like, we could create stuff, like, we had the power to create, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm getting at with this whole thing. Like you mentioned, when you throw free will into the equation, it changes a lot of stuff. And I thank you for explaining that to me.
It's funny you say what you just said, because I remember thinking to myself, would I ever really want to be immortal? Would I really want to be able to live forever and be the only, because if you think about it, everybody you would ever love, they would get old and they would die, and you would still be alive.
But
you would watch your kids, your grandkids, your kids your grandkids, kids, all come and go. Nobody would ever really know you. But then I thought there is one reason why I would want to live forever, and that would be to witness creation, like all the things, all the art that will ever come out, that will be created, all the music, all the really cool movies. I mean, the things that humans create, those would be the things the only thing I could think of that I would want to live for eternity to see.
In a way, we are all kind of immortal, not in these bodies, but I mean, if we believe in the gospel, then we will all, not that, if we believe in the gospel and we follow Jesus and we believe in Jesus, Jesus promised us everlasting life. I know, correct me if I'm misquoting that or saying it not quite right, but go ahead, and I'd like for you to touch up on that, God's armor, because you know more than I do about the subject.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically that's what we're told, if we follow Jesus, if we endure to the end. I don't believe it's as simple as a poem that we say, but yeah, we're promised everlasting life. A good point to remember, though, in the Bible, you'll hear eternal and you hear everlasting. The only thing eternal that I see in the Bible is the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. They're eternal. They had no beginning and they'll have no end. Everything else, if it exists forever after that, is what's considered everlasting. There's no other eternal beings other than the Father, Son, and Spirit. Because eternal means no beginning and no end. Everlasting means you're just going to last forever. You still had a beginning.
That's pretty deep. I never really made that connection before.
Yeah, and some believe either way, something's going to live forever, and it's either going to be tortured forever or go to heaven forever. Again, now you'd get into a hell discussion, and that gets deep. But yeah, all I know is Jesus said, if we believe in him, we would have everlasting life. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't think anywhere that it says if we don't, they have an everlasting life. I don't know, though. It says things like eternal punishment, which again, we just discussed eternal. Eternal just means that punishment's always been there and it'll always be there. It don't mean that you're going to suffer it always, in my opinion. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. A lot of times, the Bible speaks figuratively like that. I believe at one point it says Jonah was eternally in the belly of the fish, but he was only there 3 days. He wasn't there eternally. So a lot of the translations, a lot of things are misunderstood, in my opinion.
Well, would you agree that it's somewhat open to interpretation on purpose for people to be able to apply it to their circumstances more easily? Because not everybody, we all have our own trials and tribulations. We all have our sets of obstacles that we're facing, and we're all, we're all born from the womb, but once we hit the ground running, we run into all different kinds of testaments that we have to face, Yeah,
and I mean, we know everything's written basically in parables. The knowledge is there for those who seek it out. It isn't just there so you read it and get it. I mean, even Jesus taught disciples at different levels. He took Peter, James, and John with him a lot of places he didn't take anyone else. He taught them things that he didn't teach the other ones. Depending on how much of the Apocrypha and other type books you believe, Thomas spent a lot of time alone with Jesus and was taught things that no one else was taught. If you believe that, I mean, again, who knows? But we know darn well that he even said, when they asked him about, why do you speak in parables? Why do you make this so hard to understand? He said, because this isn't for everybody to understand. Those that are meant to understand it are going to understand it. And those that aren't, it's going to confuse them. It's going to be nonsense to them. And I think that's exactly why it's written the way it is, because Father meets us all exactly where we're at. That verse can mean one thing to me and still be totally true, and mean something different to you and still be totally true, because it's all in where you're at in your walk at the moment.
Yeah, and in truth, I almost want to replace the word true with applicable, like the way that it applies, like, because there's so many different sets of circumstances that can occur, and it's kind of left open for those different circumstances on purpose. I think if somebody is truly trying to seek that higher knowledge, it has a way of bringing itself forward in the way that you need to hear it. The message has a way of conforming itself to your ears to become the message that you need to hear when you need to hear it. I mean, that's the way it has worked for me personally anyway. I can't think of how many times, I mean, I've been in here's an example. It'd be late at night. I'm really going through something, and I'm changing the channels on TV, and I happen to stop on a Christian channel or some type of evangelist that I don't listen to. I never stop and listen to it, but I just set down the remote and I had walked over to go grab something, and before I have a chance to get back to the remote, I'm hearing 30 seconds to a minute of his message, but by golly, the things that he's talking about, they really hit home with me. And I may never listen to this guy again, but for whatever reason, that channel had to come on at that exact moment for me to hear that exact part of his sermon that he was saying right then. And I just happened to be too far away from the remote to get to it and change it in time before the message started resonating with me. And I mean, I can't think. I mean, that's just one example I can think of, but I can think of so many other synchronicities that have happened to me where the message just comes to me when I need to hear it the most, and it's the message that I need to hear the most, and everybody else might be hearing that exact same sermon and taking something totally different away from it than what I'm taking. But the thing that I'm going through right now, the words that are coming out of his mouth and the gospel that he's preaching are the ones that I needed to hear.
Yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I know we do have a caller on the line. I have you muted at the moment because I didn't want you talking over Saji. But yeah, absolutely, Saji. I agree. And another thing is, it'll also show you what you can handle seeing at that moment in time. Because just from my experience, I've read the same scripture many, many times and get a deeper and deeper and deeper meaning. Usually every time you read it, it's like something new is revealed. And I think that's what they mean when they say it's like a living word, because it truly is. The Spirit showing you that the word, it's constantly new, constantly showing you new things. But we do have a caller on the line, so welcome to the show. I'm unmuting you now. What's happening, caller?
Yeah, this is Oiler Greg.
Hey, Oiler Greg. Thanks for calling. Yep. Can you guys hear Greg?
Loud and clear. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing good.
Yeah, I hear him.
Call in yesterday, and this is my first time to call in anywhere, so
awesome.
I'll do okay. All right, so I'm like 2 months into this Mandela thing, so y'all got a good jump on me. But I was a chess club president and team captain and worked at a law firm and then later in the oil field. And maybe I come at this from a little different perspective. And I've been analyzing things like the tracks of hurricanes. I can tell you that Hurricane Alicia, I clearly remember they used to give the longitude and latitude. I tracked that sucker all the way off the coast of Africa to over my house in Houston in 1983. Well, now the track comes down from up north and spins around.
Wow.
It's totally different. So that's definitely one change. As for residuals, I've got a residual on May West saying, "Why don't you come up and see me sometime?"
Yeah.
If you watch Hogan's Heroes, there's an episode with a Russian pilot, and back in World War II, they used to have certain sayings that everybody would know, or things like how many home runs did Babe Ruth hit in a certain year, and everybody would know that. So in the Russian pilot episode, Carter asked the Russian pilot who might be a spy, who said, "Why don't you come up and see me sometime?" It was a well-known phrase, so well-known that if you were a spy and didn't know it, they would shoot you. But now it's put down as a popular misquote, which I
Wow.
think is something ridiculous. Now, to come at this from another angle, you guys are very good at finding all these new Mandela effects. But what I'm looking at, or trying to look at, is trying to analyze things that haven't changed and why they haven't changed. So I went into sports with Oiler Craig, the Houston Oilers, Rockets, Astros, NFL in general. I watched all this stuff, running from 1970 forward. I've looked at every game I can find. The overtimes are all exactly the same. The innings are the same in baseball. The hits are the same. The runs are the same. The outcome is all the same. The same Super Bowl winners by the exact same score. This, to me, is an important data point. Why are the sports unaffected? If I can't prove what this is, perhaps I can prove what this is not. And I think if this was a computer simulation, that a computer simulation would affect the sports scores, just like it's affecting animals and all the other things, geography and quotes and movies. But for some reason, sports are totally unaffected. No, I think just judging by that one point, and I have several more, they're spiritual and this and that, but I'm approaching this from an analytical side of, verifiable, at least the best verifiable I can come up with on this is my memory. But, we have objective proof, which is the residual, and we have the subjective proof, which is our memory.
Right.
So I think we can eliminate the artificial intelligence possibility. I do not think we are in a simulation, because an artificial intelligence would not be able, it would affect the sports scores as well. There is some intelligence, not an artificial intelligence, something else that is behind this.
I've got a question for you, Greg. Have you talked about the sports not being affected, but have you noticed that the logos have changed and stuff like that, though? I mean, that
So,
part.
Logos isn't what I'm talking about. I'm
Right.
sure logos can change. That would fit in with everything else. But what I'm saying is the actual score.
Right.
It's the exact same Super Bowl, but the exact same score. If a ball bounced off an upright over in my dimension, it bounced off one here every time. If there was a fumble there, it's fumbled here. It's not just the score, it's the number of innings. The Astros had 3 of the longest playoff games in all of baseball history. 18 innings and 16 innings and 14 innings. And darn if they aren't the exact same here. By the exact same score, by the exact same people getting hit in the exact same inning, that is not changing. The logo.
You know what, Euler, Greg? I'm not trying to cut you off, but I want you to know I actually get your point, and the reason that I think that your point is so valid is the fact that there's so many opportunities for variable change, where just an inch to the left or an inch to the right, or just the slightest miscue from as you approach a basket could have like there could be so many outcomes that are changing. The only thing that um the the only reason I wouldn't know even if it did change is I don't follow sports enough that I feel like I wouldn't even know that it did change. Like if the score of the 1976 Super Bowl was 3 points off, I don't have it memorized to know that it did go 3 points off. But somebody like yourself who does pay that close attention, you would be the one who would be who would be able to recognize it. And I'd say there's probably quite a few people like yourself, but I'm not one of them. So I haven't really had any conversation with one of them. So this is a very interesting call, and I'm really glad you called and you're bringing these points up because I think in sports, you name the sport, anything from tennis to basketball, the hockey. I mean, there's so many variables, so many times where if it was some type of construct, if it was some type of matrix, there would the amount of variables. How would it know to differentiate changing? Not to touch sports versus everything else that is being manipulated. And I heard a point on Scarab's channel the other night where it does seem like things that are copywritten are the most affected. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I don't mean to interject. Go ahead and continue with what you were saying.
No, I appreciate your injection. I couldn't even tell if y'all guys were hearing me since it's my first call. But I was trying to approach this from a different angle, and I thought that sports would be the most affected, like you say, because it's on such a razor's edge. And I had, 50-yard line tickets to the Oilers for 30 years, and from the Oilers to the Texans, from '83 up to 2013. And my friends, we watched all these football and basketball games. I can't speak for every team. I can speak for my teams in Houston: Oilers, Rockets, Astros, and I certainly watched all the NFL playoff games. So even if you're not a sports guy, you can look at the Super Bowls and see that not one Super Bowl has changed. Just the Super Bowl winners or just the winners of the playoffs. But if you go deeper, if you actually know that all these games, if you sit and watch like I did on Thanksgiving, we watched the Cowboys and Detroit every year. So I went and I looked at all the Thanksgiving Day games, and they were all exactly as I remembered them. That seemed like an important data point. I think this proves that it is not an artificial intelligence. I've got other reasons why I don't think it's a simulation, but the first thing I can do, I had that on a low order of probability, and now I think I've eliminated that possibility, and spiritual jumps up. But it almost, my theory right now, this is a very preliminary report. I wanted to write a good report for y'all guys before I called in, but what the heck, I'm going to go ahead and just say, a little bit here now. I think that the people would notice if the sports scores changed. They're so into the sports is like bread and circuses to the Romans. The people would notice if their sports changed, and so they're not touching that.
That's a very good point, because even myself, I mean, I was a big Steeler fan since the 70s, the heyday when they Steel Curtain and everything. And
the Oilers-Steelers game.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I mean, even today as a Steeler fan, if all of a sudden we had 4 trophies instead of 6, you know what I'm saying? That's something that's something that would be hard to change.
And go back and look at your Steeler games and see if they're all exactly the same.
They are. I mean, I've got DVDs of all the old Super Bowls, every one we was ever in, and I've watched them, within the last year or two.
So
and
this is an important data point.
This is a very, very important and very intriguing point, no doubt. This is amazing.
On anything like this, I think it's just because I look at things from a different angle than other people do. But there's no way I can compare with y'all guys at finding all these new effects. but I can darn well look at what hasn't changed, and I can interpolate why it hasn't changed. And and y'all can bounce it around and let me know what y'all think. I haven't called the bigger show yet with it, but I'm still preparing my report, and I didn't know how it would come over. And I was wondering exactly, now I've got a second person besides my brother and my friend who all say it's exactly the same. Now I've got you saying it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I
We've
mean,
got a growing set of people saying the same thing.
and like you say, I mean, even the Immaculate Reception, which everyone's heard of, I'm sure, whether you're a fan or not, the odds of that football hitting his toe, I mean, that alone, that play alone, to just, yeah, it shouldn't be. I mean, that, and so many other ones. There's so many plays like that.
How can that all be the same and other things change so
Yeah.
dramatically?
Yeah, that is a
One
very,
thing should at least change. One thing. I haven't found one thing that's changed in sports. Yeah, the logo, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the actual scores, the winners and losers, and what they won and lost by. If a team was terrible, it's still terrible. It's all exactly the same.
yeah, that is pretty interesting, no doubt. That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm quite glad you called
Well,
in.
it's something we can use to fire off at the crazy people who think this is all a simulation. Because if you were a computer glitch, the glitch would glitch on sports scores as well. It would even glitch more because, like y'all said, it's more likely that you'd have changes.
Yeah.
You would have to have a computer glitch that is purposely only glitching certain things and not glitching others. And that doesn't make any sense. That's not what they're saying is happening.
Yeah,
Now,
that's not how a glitch works.
No, that's not what they're putting forward. It's a very lazy and easy argument. It's an argument put forward by people who can't stand anything but a scientific explanation, and a lazy one at that. I'm not, apologies to anybody who believes that. I don't judge people or anything. I'm just 2 months into this, so maybe I'm quite wrong. But I've got to let y'all know what I'm discovering because it's important that I do that. Every Greg on every freaking earth is going to be hitting the red alert and making his report. If I was 18, I'd be calling the freaking president. But they must know about this. So.
Yeah, I mean,
If there was a glitch in the Sims, if there was a glitch in the system, then Cubs might not have won the 2016 World Series. So there you go.
Exactly. Something to change in sports. Everybody I've talked to about sports, it's all, and they know about Mandela, it's all exactly the same. It's a very preliminary thing, but I had an exhaustive knowledge of sports because I watched it so much, and I was there at all those games, and I've got, none of it's changed. All of it's exactly the same, and that's not indicative of an AI, of a glitch. We are not in a computer simulation. If I can't discover what it is, let's at least discover what it's not and eliminate some stuff. And once we've eliminated enough stuff, we're going to know exactly what it is.
Now, what are you going to do, Euler, when you do, if you do eventually notice something that has changed? However, it's going to be hard for you to convince people who don't remember it the other way that it happened. Then I'm saying it may not have happened, but you have to include the word yet. Maybe you if you stay diligent, you might discover one.
The true sports fans would know, though.
I'll include that in my report. That would be an important point of data. Every point of data is an important point, and if that happens, then I'll amend my report to include it.
It'll also be interesting to see if something changes now that this has been brought forward.
Yes, after I've brought this up and once we disseminate the information. But I don't think they will change because it'll alert the masses.
Yeah, I agree because people are very.
So they can't do that.
Yeah, I agree that would be taking it to a whole new level. When and if that does occur, that would be a whole new benchmark for the Mandela effect. You are 100% correct.
Well, anyway, that's all I I got for this report. I'm gonna go ahead and hang up, and we can.
Let me ask you this, Greg, real quick before you hang up. Do you have your own channel?
I've got a little channel. I haven't done any Mandela stuff. I was anti destroying our culture, fandom menace, kind of just a fun guy. Got like 65 or 70 subscribers. I haven't decided to do a video yet because I haven't decided what in the hell this is, and I would freak my people out. But
Well, when you do finish your report, make sure you call in or somehow make us aware of it because I want to see
Well,
it when it's done.
I was gonna ask him. Maybe you should make a video about it when you get your report finished, and we'll do what.
report, I will probably make a video, but it's still too early. This is way preliminary. I'm only 2 months in, and it's just the first thing that I've been able to eliminate something. I believe I had it down like at less than 10%. Now I got it like less than 1%. It's vanishing even smaller all the time. I do not believe that a computer program would just glitch all the other stuff and not port. That doesn't make sense. I think we can eliminate the fact that we're in a computer simulation, which already was extremely unlikely, but I think I can eliminate that. Yeah, I'll keep calling into y'all guys. And then,
Well, or I also want to let you know that I try to stay open-minded to all the possibilities. So in case you happen to hear us referring and for future reference to a computer simulation, don't think by any means that we're discounting what this conversation, because I do think you have very valid points and very interesting take on the subject. But if we have another caller who wants to talk about why they think it's a computer simulation, we're going to be open-minded and hear them out as well. I just want you to know, and that means no disrespect to you whatsoever.
I'd like to hear, their logical, not just they think that's what it is. I'd like to hear their reasons why. That's what we're here for. I told you I haven't fully eliminated it, but it's dropped down to less than 1%, and logically, I cannot logically support the computer simulation. If you want to say that it feels like one, well, that's fine, I guess. But I got nothing against religion or anything else. I've got one other thing. I've only really noticed a few New Age people and Christians. I haven't noticed any Buddhists or Hindus or Muslims or anything like that have been awakened, and I find that a very interesting data point. I haven't got into my whole religious thing. I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church every week. The people who do go to church every week, you tell them this stuff, and they seem like they glaze over and don't seem able to comprehend what you're saying. So I don't know if it's some sort of a block or something. I don't know. But I haven't even got into that part of my report yet. I'm still gathering information on that, and I don't want to offend anybody. But if you believe in simulations or whatever it might be, that's fine. We're in the middle of the craziest thing that anybody ever have, and I ain't judging anybody.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, and I agree with you. It is a lot of quote unquote Christians and New Agers. Now, I do notice there are some agnostics and a few atheists too in the group. But yeah, I haven't noticed any Muslims or Buddhists, like you said. But yeah, there's definitely Christians, New Age, 50-50 almost, and a few agnostics and atheists.
Atheists and whatnot, but as the people of faith, I haven't noticed anything but the New Agers, and a lot of them are former Christians. If you listen to what they're actually saying, and they were kind of driven out of their various churches, and now they're just amorphously, searching for meaning. And I'm not, they can see it. Anybody who can see this, it has a valid point that I'm going to listen to.
Exactly.
And I just find it very interesting that of those people of faith, I'm not just, maybe they're being driven off because there's a little too much Christian on the channel. I don't know, but I don't think I've seen any of them show up at all. I've only been there a couple of months, and whenever I put out a call anywhere, no one responds. So far, I'm not seeing anybody of faith other than Christians and a few sprinkling the former Christians who are New Age.
Yep, and I would agree with that for the most part. Yep.
So anyway, that was my first call. I'm going to let y'all chew on that and see what y'all got to say about it. Thank y'all.
Well, definitely thanks for calling. And awesome call. Definitely awesome data points.
I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. Just my preliminary report. It could change, but like you say, it will be interesting to see if sports stores start changing, but I don't think they will. We're gonna see. We can analyze it. At least I've spread the information a little bit. I wanted to let somebody else know, just in case.
Heck yeah. Yep. Something to keep our eyes out for.
All right, I'll be floating in the chat.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks for the call, brother.
Yeah, that was a great call. I was so
Very.
glad he called in.
Yes, that was a really good call. Man, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you what, he brought up a really good point. I never really did buy into the whole simulation thing that we're on the computer simulation myself. I really think that whatever is going on has been spiritual. And we've talked about this before, that it's a spiritual awakening. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that everything going on is a spiritual awakening. And if it's happening in the sports world, maybe that's not the world. I mean, maybe that's not the way God wants to send his messages through sports. But although you would think it would reach a whole lot more people if he sent his message that way, but he's, God's sending his message to who he you know what I'm trying to say. It's all up in there, but it's all just my opinion, by the way. But I do think it's a spiritual thing more than it is. I never did buy into the whole simulation thing myself.
Yeah, that's
Nah,
what I leaned from.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. I mean, there are times though when I'm out in public and I'm seeing people who just don't get. They really do. I guess it's more of a metaphorical way of looking at for me the simulation theory, because I really do see like how they appear to be non-player characters. Like they really seem like they don't have they're almost lifeless. They almost look like a zombie, a vessel without a soul. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too derogatory, but there's times when I really feel like everybody is kind of fake and plastic and artificial, and I mean that more metaphorically than I do literally. Like I don't think I'm going to go over there and touch them, and they're going to be made out of plastic.
Right.
But I do have moments, and when I'm out and about, when the whole environment around me seems very fake, very artificial. Now, I'm not saying that the ME is a simulation, or I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's moments when I can relate to that perspective. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And I will add one thing to the whole sports thing is I haven't noticed a whole lot of statistics or anything like that changing like he brought up, but I have noticed logo changes and names of some of the sports, the big sports stars like Mark McGuire and who was the Sammy Sosa and there was another quite a few guys. David Freese, for example, I noticed his name's kind of changed. I thought it was FREE 2 S's and then an E, and it's FREE 1 S and then an E. And I've noticed the St. Louis Cardinal logo has had a slight change to it. It looks like the S is curving inside of the L instead of over the top of it. And of course, everybody knows about the Oakland Raiders logo change where the patch is over I believe it's the left side of the eye and it's supposed to be on the right side of the eye or something like that. But that's just neither here nor there. But, that has nothing to do with, nothing has really changed as far as the statistics go and as far as, the the amazing plays that have been made and stuff like that. We were talking about one thing last night, however, that to me is a pretty big size change. And I don't know if a lot of people consider boxing a sport, but you remember when we were talking about Mike Tyson, the whole ear biting thing?
Yeah, but I think we agreed that I think it was kind of. I personally, my opinion, think that it's more of one of those things where at the time the fact that he did it in general made it seem like such a grandiose thing that you remember it being such a big way. You literally remember the bite being so much huger. Then when you go back and you look at the footage now, it's like, no, I remember him taking out a bigger chunk of his ear than the amount that they're showing on the video now. And yeah, I mean, in a hyperbole sense, that can still be an ME because certain people remember it one way and others not so much. But I really do think it's more of a case of us just having a grandiose memory because everybody was just so shocked that it happened.
I got to tell you, to me and of what I seen, I got to tell you, I'm really convinced that isn't in me because, dude, when I remember first seeing that, when I first saw that, it was. You go back and check the video footage now, you're not going to see it, but I mean, back then it looked like a big chunk of his ear was bitten off. Not just, and now it looks like it's just a little tiny piece, almost as though he barely even took a bite of it. And when I
he didn't eat enough. Hey man, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because who am I to say that your reality tell you what your reality is? But I just disagree. I think that I think that most people are just remembering it more grander because of the fact that it actually happened. And it was such a violent act. I mean, I remember seeing the blood on the mat, and I even kind of vaguely remember seeing him spit the ear. Like he literally took the ear, the chunk that he had, and he spit it out. Like I remember seeing that and thinking, "Golly, I cannot believe that Mike Tyson is doing this." But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying remember. I'm giving it to the fact that it was just such a lewd event that you may have it in your mind as being the possibility that you may just have it in your mind as being larger. But I'm not. Yeah.
But even if he just bit a little piece off, there should have been a lot more blood in that because you have a big vein in that part of your ear, don't you? I mean, wouldn't there be a whole lot more? I mean, when you see the footage now, there's just a few drops of blood. And like you said, you remember like the entire mat being covered in blood.
I didn't say the entire mat. I just remember seeing the blood hit the mat. I just remember seeing him spit the ear. I just remember it just being such a vulgar, like carnal scene that it was almost impossible to watch.
Isn't that the reason now the referees they wear the gloves now, the like doctor gloves, because they're afraid to get HIV or something like that from people that are affected because there's so much blood in boxing?
Yeah, I'm not sure about all that. I wanted to ask you though, Armor. I had something I was going to say, and now I got sidetracked. And I think I almost forgot it. Oh, sorry. I'll remember here in a minute. Go ahead.
No, I just want to conclude that conversation by saying, I mean, there, like you said, nobody's right or wrong or anything like that. Just it's everyone's different perspective of their reality. And my reality, what I saw was a big, huge chunk of ear, and he spit it off, and there was a lot of blood. I'm not saying it covered the entire mat. I thought you said that, but it just there was quite a bit of blood, and even if it was just a little tiny chunk of ear, you would think there would be a lot more blood, wouldn't you? I don't know. What's God's armor think about all this?
Well, I'm more with you. I do remember vaguely. I mean, I can't say 100%, but yeah, I thought it was a bigger chunk. I thought there was a lot more blood. But what Sadgie says makes sense too. Maybe that's just because it was such a shocking thing to have happened at that time. But I thought it was a good bit of the year. I mean, a lot of the year. I think he took a big chunk of the year off.
Oh, I just remembered what I was going to say when you guys, before we got into all of this, when we were talking about, you were talking about Jonah and the well earlier. Me and my wife get into this big, huge argument all the time when we start bringing up the well incident. Because I was telling her that the Bible interpretations that it's not always like it's not always shoot, what's the word I'm looking for here? An exact interpretation. It's not always what's the word I'm looking for? Sad, you okay over there?
That's probably my dog.
Oh, okay. I thought it was him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I blamed him instead of blaming the dog this time. But no, it's the Bible has a lot of what's it when it's not an exact interpretation? What's that called? Help me out.
You mean like a parable? I don't know.
Yeah, like a parable, but it's not called a parable though. But anyway, so we always get into an argument like that, and I say, well, it's not that he was actually inside of a well. It was just an interpretation of him being inside of an enormous dark thing or something. And she always brings up the argument. She said, well, if God's so all powerful, wouldn't he be powerful enough to create a well so big that it could swallow a human whole and keep him there? I said, yeah, but how would he stay alive all that time in the well? She said, well, it's God. God kept him alive all that time in that well. And I said, well, that could be right. I don't know. But, we get into that argument all the time. And what started me remembering that is you talk about Jonah and the well. What is your interpretation of Jonah and the well? Literal. That's what I was thinking of. That's the word I was looking for. That the Bible is not always a literal interpretation.
Well, I agree. I mean, it could have many meanings. Did he literally spend 3 days in the belly of a whale? I mean, well, first of all, it's a big fish, not a whale. So did he spend 3 days in a big fish? Who knows? I mean, anything's possible with God. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the main reason I brought up Jonah is because right there it says, Jonah says about he was in that whale forever, that fish forever. But we all know he wasn't there forever. He was there for 3 days. Well, let me find the verse. Hold on.
Now, wait a minute. So let me just clarify. It wasn't a well then. It was a big fish?
Yeah, it says big fish, if I remember. At least it used to say big fish. I mean, maybe it says whale now. Who knows? I'm trying to see. Okay, Jonah 2:6. He says, I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. And Jonah in that right there is describing being swallowed by the whale. See, there it says by the whale. But this is something I'm reading offline. It's not the actual verse. He says he was down there forever. But he was only down there 3 days. And this goes back to a question someone asked me earlier that I never got to about what about where it says the worm that never dies? Well, I consider that the same thing because that's Mark. Okay. It's brought up in Mark 9:43-44, where he's talking about if your hand offends you, cut it off. It's better to enter life maimed than having 2 hands and go into hell, into the fire that shall never be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and their fire is not quenched. I think that when I see that, I think of the same as the way they used to use forever. Forever didn't really mean forever. It meant like it felt like forever. I'm sure 3 days in a fish felt like forever. And I'm sure however long you spend in whatever you consider hell, that worm's going to feel like it's not dying forever. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it literally means forever. I think it means that it will accomplish its mission. The worm will accomplish its mission. The fire is not quenched because the fire will accomplish its mission. It won't be put out. It won't be quenched. But I don't think it means like eternally.
You mean forever, ever? Like forever, ever? No, I'm just
Right.
playing.
And we do have another caller just popped in.
Awesome. I'm
469.
liking these. I'm liking these callers here tonight.
Go ahead, caller. Who do we got?
Well, whoop, whoop, guess who?
Hey, it's Jenny Purr. What's up, sister?
All right.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
First time I've heard your voice. How you doing?
The Lord keeps telling me to call, and that's all I know.
Awesome.
I'm like, oh, Lord, I'm going to take a shower. Lord, I'm not hearing anything. I'm going to go take a shower. So, try to get in the shower, and he goes, no, you're not. You can get a call. I'm like, well, I don't know why I'm calling. That's the point.
That's all right. We never know why we're doing what we're doing. We just do it.
I know people live in the shower. So, hi, here I am.
What's happening?
How silly. I have no idea.
Well, what do you think about the forever?
Forever. What? I was trying to get in the shower. I didn't hear what you were talking about.
Oh, well, I was just talking about how sometimes the term forever in the Bible doesn't mean forever, because it says Jonah said about when he was in the fish, it was like forever, but it was really only 3 days. And that happens a lot in the Bible.
What?
They use the term forever. And
If you're in a fish, it feels like forever.
exactly.
It feels like forever.
It more, yeah, exactly. It means more, it feels like forever. It doesn't literally mean it's forever.
Man, that's what I needed to hear. Thank you, because I feel like I'm in the fish and I've been waiting forever.
You know, but it's really only going to be a few days. It's not forever.
Feels like forever. And I'm whining about it. I've been whining about it all day.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no sense whining.
It's not forever. It just feels like forever.
Yeah, it just feels like forever, but it ain't forever. In fact, it's for a very small point of time.
Very dramatic.
Yep, it's just a June bug.
We're a dramatic people. Oh, what did you say?
Just a June bug, sister, you know.
A June bug in the bed.
That's right.
Oh my God. Nobody else knows
I
what
thought
we're talking about.
fruit flies only live 2 days, though.
What's that, Hebrew?
Tell 'em the June bug.
I always heard that fruit flies only live 2 days, so that would be forever for them, right?
Well, yeah, maybe for a fruit fly. Possibly, yes.
So what's on your mind, Jenny?
Well, I guess now my June bug in the bed story reminded me of the June bug in the bed. So one night I woke up in the middle of the night, and I heard a mouse in my bed. And so I'm laying in my bed and I am freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, there's a mouse in my bed. Not only was the mouse in my bed, the mouse, I was listening, the mouse sounded like it was inside of my down comforter. Not on top of it, not under it, inside the comforter. So my mind's going, oh my God, that is one heck of a mouse infestation for a mouse to be inside my comforter. So I'm laying in the bed, and this is getting bigger and bigger in my mind, and I'm freaking out. I'm about ready to lose it. But if I freak out and I jump up, where's that mouse going to go? That mouse is going to come flying out of the bed. I didn't know where it was going to land. It was getting scarier and scarier by the second. And by this time, I've got sheer terror going on because there's a mouse in my comforter. And worse than that, there's a whole mouse infestation in my whole house. And I can't move. So I'm laying in my bed in the middle of the night, 2:00
o'clock in the morning, frozen in fear because there's a mouse in my bed. Okay, so I finally get a hold of this fear, sheer terror, and I get up to turn on the light. And I'm ready to face my biggest fear. And
You didn't.
and it's a June bug. It's not
Oh.
a mouse. It's a June bug that's just scratching its little leg on top of the comforter. But in my mind, it turned into this huge mouse infestation. It's only a June bug, which I just threw out the back door, problem solved. But the way the enemy has worked on this little noise in the middle of the night turned it into this huge, scariest thing in the whole wide world. It wasn't. No big deal.
Yep. Just a June bug in the bed.
Well, you know, they say, Jennifer, well, a lot of the times the scariest things that you ever encounter are the ones that you encounter within your own mind.
Well put.
That's true.
I was gonna.
You got a hold of my thoughts and just right in with them, and I was agreeing with them too. Logically, look at this. How in the world is a mouse going to get inside the stone seam of a comforter? Really?
Yep. It just goes to show how he can work and how he tricks us.
Plus, I've never seen a mouse in my whole house ever, and I knew that. Oh.
Well, if you had some cookies, I was gonna say you didn't feed him a cookie, did you? But that wasn't. Then it turned out to not be a mouse. So.
No, see, I know what happens if you give a mouse a cookie. They don't want a glass of milk.
Right. I'm not sure what June bugs eat, so you might want to be careful.
Oh, June bug.
Yeah, give him a salad.
So.
Anyway, forever.
Forever. Forever doesn't mean forever.
You know, I ran into an old friend I hadn't seen in a long time. I was like, I ain't seen you in forever.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to wait for something that I've been praying for really hard, and the Lord gave me a time zone of 6 months. And I've been whining inside of my heart that sounds like forever.
That ain't even the blink of an eye in eternity, though.
It's not hardly anything.
Yeah, it's like a
And,
nanosecond.
and instead of being thankful that God gave me, because how often does the Lord give you a time zone?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, exactly.
Not very often. Instead of me being thankful that the Lord gave me a time zone, I've been complaining in my heart about it.
Yeah.
Shame on me. Oh my goodness. Wow.
But now you know, so now you can correct it, and that's the important thing.
Yeah. I need to be thankful. I need to praise God for even talking to me to begin with. Because like I said, how often does the Lord give you specific instructions and says, mark this day because in 6 months you're going to see this.
Yeah. Yeah, that don't happen often, at least not with me. It's usually just wait and see. And I wait and see. Who knows how long?
And
See,
then I had the nerve to try to doubt that he even said what he said. Shame on me again. What?
Yep, and that's exactly how the enemy works. Got to make you start doubting. If you are the Son of God, then turn this rock to bread. If. There ain't no if. You know what I mean? He loves the if. Did he really say? Did God really say you shouldn't eat of this tree? Is that what he really said? Yep. Same old crap, different year.
It's so subtle. So subtle.
Yep. It's the master of subtle.
The enemy makes it sound like logic. He makes it sound like logical thinking. And he uses our desire for logical thinking against us.
Yep.
Of course it doesn't sound like logical thinking. Show me the book of Acts where that's logical thinking. It's just
Yeah.
faith defies logic. It just does.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. He uses the simple to confound the wise. All the logical thinkers, they can't figure it out. They ain't ever going to figure it out.
So what I've been trying to do probably is try to be wise in my own eyes.
I think that's a big problem a lot of us deal with. That pride, that self. You know me, I always call it self, no matter what it is, pride, vanity, whatever. They're all part of the self spirit. And we all got to deal with it. No doubt about that. The enemy loves to try to puff us up in our own eyes. But,
You know, as soon as we can see it, then we can go, oh, and if we are not too prideful to accept that we see that fault, then that fault is an issue. That's trap, snare, whatever.
yep,
We got it lit.
yep, the minute it's brought to the light and we're humble enough to admit our fault, well, it's over. The enemy can't stand the light. So the minute it's brought into the light, it's done. Once it's revealed, it's done. If we're humble enough to admit the fault. If it's revealed and we make an excuse for it, which a lot of times we like to do, well, I did it because of this, or well, it's because of that, or no, it's because it's a fault. It's that simple. So yeah, the minute we're humble enough to admit we got human faults and it's brought to the light, it's done. The enemy's power is gone. That's why it says he'll flee from you. The power is gone. It flees. It's history. There's no more power over you. It's done.
What time of night was this that took happen when that?
Seriously.
Oh, sorry.
Once we admit it, I mean, the problem just disappears. It disintegrates, like popping a balloon.
Exactly.
Why do we so fiercely hang on to the I'm right side?
That's that flesh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything, but I was just wondering, Jenny, what time of night was this June bug in your bed, by the way?
It was the middle of the night when I was freaking out. This was years ago.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like maybe it might have been the witching hour or something like that, because that's that's when that's when the enemy likes to prey on us is during the witching hour, and that's how he tries to get with you, mess with your mind, during those prime times of the night.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Between the hours of 3 and 4 in the morning, I think it is, right?
I wake up a lot at 2 and 3. That's always been an alarm zone for me. I've been woke up a lot to get up and pray. And it's like once I get past, back to 4 o'clock, then it's like, okay, it's cool. Go back to bed and sleep till 7. But that's always a time when things feel weird. Not every night, but pretty often. Enough to recognize it.
Okay.
When it does happen, I just submit to it and go, oh, I'm getting up, haggard. I'll get up, get out of bed. If it's really strong, just, all right, Lord, I'm awake. What are we praying about? What's wrong? Just start praying until it lifts and go back to bed. But the June bug, I mean, hey, when you live in Texas and you leave the window open, you get June bugs.
All right.
It's a fact.
I'll tell you a funny story real quick. It has to do with a bug. You know those cicadas? You know about the cicadas, right?
Yeah, I have them out here.
Me and my wife, we were out in the woods. We're out checking out. I was checking out a spot to deer hunt at the time. This is when I was still hunting, and we had the truck, and I got out to do something, or my wife got out to do something, or something like that, and got back in the truck. And every time she'd sit down, she'd hear this little buzzing noise, and we couldn't figure out where the heck it was coming from. And I thought maybe, that I'd left the truck on. You know how sometimes the older vehicles, when you leave the door open, or it's ajar, it makes the little buzzing sound. And
Yep.
Yeah.
well, that's what we thought that was, and we were trying to. So I'd shut the truck off, shut the engine off completely, shut it off, make sure all the doors were shut, be like, still here, and then she would lift her leg, and then put it back down, and we'd still hear that buzzing sound. And then we thought maybe there might have been something underneath the seat was making that sound or something. And we could not figure it out for the life of us where that sound was coming from. And so we both got out of the truck and we look over in the seat, and there in the crack of the seat was this little cicada. So every time she was lifting her leg up, she was, or every time she was pressing down on the seat, she was basically smothering that cicada.
Oh, get off me.
No, I could not believe it. I was like, oh no, that poor little thing.
There's some ugly little things. I moved out into the country and I got a real bird's eye view of one the other day, just real close up, and just sat there. I'm like, you little beady-eyed, bald-headed thing, just don't come at me. He was kind of cute though. What a deep, but cute.
But I'll tell you, that was just funny. That was funny as all get out. I thought I'd share that story with you, since you're talking about the Junebug thing.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I guess I'm out. Thank you, Warrior Bro. You always bring
Yeah.
wisdom.
Well, hey, while I've got you on here, by the way, I just wanted to
I
tell
like
you,
wisdom out. It's great. I love it. I'm sorry. What?
I was just wanting to tell you real quick how much I appreciate you coming out Thursdays and watching the program and following along with it. Thank you very much for being the viewer on there.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's good to hear the word. Great. And I really appreciate what you're doing. And reading the Bible is not an easy task, and I just appreciate your work there. We need it. We need a lot. We need a lot of that these days.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's not the these and the thous and the shouts and the shats are not my. First of all, I'm not that great of a reader, and when you got that thrown in there with it, it's it's not that easy for me.
Yeah, I was trying to read from that one. I'm like, oh no, I just can't handle that. So yeah. Just, well, I'm actually gonna try to. I'm getting some internet here, and I'm gonna try to get a channel up here maybe next month or so. I don't know, a couple weeks, and just start offering just prayer time with people.
Awesome.
In such perilous, crazy world that we need all the words, all the wisdom, all the prayer we can get our hands on. And you know what? What I like about these YouTube channels is because I can usually find something from you guys when I need it. You know, I'm
Cool.
wrapping around in my house by myself, and I just get crazy. And so there's usually something that I can get a hold of you guys, and I don't feel so alone, and it's good. I know it's probably like that for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have the fellowship of the community, no doubt about it. We definitely need each other through this crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Totally agreed.
I've been on the phone a lot with Rainy Redemption, and we've come to that conclusion that we need fellowship in here what we call the YouTube land,
You know,
a lot. I mean, more. I mean, people just crave it. That's why we're the wave goes from one channel to the other channel. It's all, everybody over here, now everybody over here. We're looking for it. We need it.
yep, absolutely. And the SNS, man, I love everything they do. They edify me every video they put out. Man, those two are awesome.
Oh my gosh, man.
They're incredible.
We'll be on the phone for like 3 hours a night, and we'd still be there if something, if we didn't have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Just God stories, one right after the other. They are so much fun. It's great. So I would really like to bring that to air and share it with everybody else, because this is really amazing. And then we always end up praying about whatever issue the Lord brings up, and He's been moving really mightily. I mean, it's just been, I've never seen this level of Holy Spirit movement in ever.
Yeah, they're.
And I know that He just wants to move harder and stronger and more. And those videos you put out recently was, oh my gosh, I was just like, wow, that was so much fun. I loved it. It's great.
Yeah, the SNS are definitely an inspiration for me. I can't believe they got all the more subscribers they got. They man, anyone that wants to learn more about the Father and the Spirit and the Son and just wants to be edified, those two are just incredible. Every message, every song, every story, it's their videos never fail to uplift me in some way.
Because they're so humble. And
Yeah.
Scotty really is he's a shy guy. He really is. And we just need to talk him up more, because the people with all the subscribers, you hear about him a lot. People talk him up.
Yeah.
And they talk themselves up. And with Reigning Redemption, they're so humble and so shy that, they're kind of hidden. So,
Yep, they're definitely a diamond.
Chatting them up, and I warned him, I'm going to chat you up just because people need to know. Now, calm down, it'll be all right.
Yeah, they're awesome. I recommend them to everybody. They're definitely one of my favorite channels, by far, bar none. They're like probably number one. Yeah, yeah. I always try to point people over there because, man, it's just awesome. I love it every chance we get together.
Hey, bro, more good stuff, dude.
Yep. Right. Hey, Bert's Thirsty Thursdays are awesome. So glad he's doing them.
I sure do. I like trying.
How long you been on this stream? You getting snoozy?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, how long you been streaming tonight? Are you getting snoozy, sleepy?
It's going on the 2 hour and 23-minute mark at least.
Oh my goodness, he's getting snoozy. Poor guy. I better let him off the phone.
We're used to it.
Yep, I'll be up for a while yet. I got to finish my Wednesday word before I start back to work tomorrow, so it's ready.
We're night owls around here. At least I am. I don't know if I speak for everyone, but I know I am.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
What time zone?
Hebrews with you guys, Central.
Okay, Central.
Me and Sadgie were East.
Well, I'm going to split. Thank you so much. Got me a word of wisdom. That was great. Love it. I'm going to put my wine in.
Yep, must have been why you're supposed to call.
Sorry for my whining and complaining in my heart. And definitely going to be thankful for what he told me, because it is my heart's desire. And he graced me with some knowledge that he didn't have to give me.
Yeah.
I'm going to run with that.
Amen.
So, alrighty, love you guys, and I'll see you soon.
Much love, sister.
All right, thanks for calling again. Appreciate it.
Call anytime.
Send my love to the SNS.
Oh, you better get a hold of them. Yeah, you better chat it out there, mister.
Yeah, absolutely.
just that. Now, see, I know you're working, but they can't have you all the time.
I know it's busy season. I wish we'd get another driver. I need a break.
No, we're not going to turn down the money. Nope. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Love y'all.
All right. Much love, sister.
Bye-bye.
Wow, we're just being blessed with all kinds of great calls this evening, aren't we?
Oh man, I'm
I'm
telling
telling
you.
you. Awesome.
I wanted to tell you, Hebrew, since you brought it up, how much you appreciated your Thirsty Thursdays. As you well know, I listened in on your Thirsty Thursday this past Thursday. I mean, I feel like I'm saying a tongue twister here, but you did do a really good job, and I know you do struggle with some of the thous and whatnot when you're reading, but you can tell that you're being sincere and that your heart is in the right place when you're doing that. It is really genuinely a good thing that it's turning out to be genuinely a really great thing that you're doing, and I just wanted to personally tell you that because I hadn't caught a live. I listened to some of them after the fact, but I hadn't caught one live until this past Thursday,
Yeah.
and I really enjoyed it.
I really appreciate that, man. This week's was kind of short, but that's good in a way because then people listen to it, and then you can listen to it again. Why not? You always hear something different when you listen to the word. And you listen to it again, no matter how many times you read it or listen to it. You always pick up on something different, or at least I think I do. I learn something different every time I pick up that book.
Yep, absolutely. Me too.
Oh, I did finally remember the thing I wanted to make mention of. It was when Euler Greg called, when he quoted that famous that quote about give them bread and their circuses, or how does it go? Give them bread and circuses. The Roman emperor said it, I think.
Yeah.
I thought that was really applicable in the context that he used it in. I hadn't heard that quote in a long time. I just wanted to make comment that I thought it was I thought it was rather well placed.
Yes. Brother, apropos. Oh, my coffee's done. I got to go fill my coffee. I shall return.
All right, go do that. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
We'll talk amongst ourselves. Well, guys, I think we've had a really good show tonight, though, and we've certainly had a lot of good callers. And I really appreciate everyone who called in and was talking on the show. And Saji, you had a lot of good stuff to say tonight.
I try, every once in a while to have something worthwhile to talk about. I try to earn my keep around here.
All
More
right.
than we can say for the host. Oh, shoot. Is that Mike? Oh, man. No, he left now. That's it.
I know, right? There goes our perfect show. We just ruined it.
Way to run the show. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to close the phone lines, I guess. They're shut off.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
I'll take down that banner and I'll put up a new one.
Yeah. Quit calling. The phones are closed.
Well, no,
I'm just kidding.
let's see here. How about this one? There we go.
All right.
That's what's up. That's what you say all the time. So I thought I'd just throw it at you. Yeah, so we had another successful night of Shifty Sunday, I do believe.
Yes.
I think so. Awesome calls.
Like I said, I'd like to thank everyone who called in. And God's Armor, you have anything to end on?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more from Euler Greg because he's coming at it from a much different perspective. And I think it's a perspective I personally can't wait to hear more of. I mean, it's all about us sharing our own different perspectives on everything. I've said that from the beginning. That's why I seldom argue with anyone about their belief, because your belief's
Yeah.
your belief. Father meets you wherever you're at. I know where he met me, and I was way off track, but
I mean, and
somehow he
there's so
still brought
many,
me back. So, you
and
know,
there's so many times when you hear the same old narrative just with a different spin on it, and he totally had a whole new. He was
yeah,
going down a whole new avenue in it. I got excited about it as well. I can't wait. I think we're going to annoy him because like he keeps trying to remind us he's just barely skimmed the
yeah.
surface of it.
He's 2 months in, and we're like waiting for the final report. But man,
Yeah, we're going to be like his publisher wanting him to finish the novel.
yeah,
Where's that report, Johnson? I told you to have it on my desk an hour ago.
yeah, definitely. I want to thank him for calling in for sure, because definitely some food for thought in that, down that path, no doubt. Other than that, just I hope the Father blesses you, keeps you, is gracious unto you, and gives you that peace that Jesus talks so much about, because we need it. So that's about all I got to say.
All right, cool. He says part 2 soon, I hope. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't wait to hear more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. Definitely interesting. I mean, I never even thought about the fact that something that should easily change because of all the factors doesn't. I mean, that's just mind blowing. It really is.
Saji, did you have anything else to share?
No, I mean, again, just to reiterate everything that we've already said. The other thing that kind of sprung into my mind once I went down that train of thought is weather, but we know we don't really put weather into the same category because we know it's being manipulated by the powers that be anyway. So it's kind of like excluded from the conversation. But because weather is something that has so many variables in it as well, and it just seems like we've just seen so many drastic extremes. I think the word extremes is kind of like where I'm going to tease us on our next the next thing I'm going to look into as far as on our next program. I've noticed a lot of extremes lately, extremes in just the way, not just in the weather, but just in everything. Everything just seems so much more extreme than it has ever been before. I'm going to try to point out really good examples of that.
And another thing, Greg just reminded me, he started out by saying about how the hurricane track had changed that he knew about. And
Oh
that's
yeah,
blowing too. I mean, who'd
yeah.
ever thought of looking at that? But there's no doubt about it. Because I think, there was something about 9/11 and that whole hurricane thing that, it's something fishy going on there also, no doubt.
But that's all I got. I'm ready to wrap it up if you guys are.
Yep.
Just one more thing, just as a reminder, we have that contest. Send in your best slogan for the Shifty Sunday T-shirts, and it's the slogan I'll be using for the T-shirts and also for the show. And whoever comes up with the best one will get a free T-shirt with the slogan on the shirt, and of course Shifty Sunday will be on that shirt as well, and whatever else if you want your name on there, we'll put your name on there. If you want something else on there, we'll put that on there as well.
Yep, your avatar, whatever you're into.
And let's do one final shout out, and then we'll shut everything down.
All right, we got Oiler Greg, of course, in the house. Red Shirt Blues, Jocko R, Sporting a Wrench, Robo Cub. Let me scroll up here. Of course, Jenny Pertys in the house. Connie Joe Woods in the house also. Scrolling. Eddie Von Keen, the real one, Sporting a Wrench. The things you forgot was also in the house earlier.
Well, I'm glad you didn't forget to mention the things you forgot.
I wouldn't want to forget to mention the things we forgot.
Hey.
Lorraine Lamour, of course, was in the house. She was our first caller. SS was in the house. New Kingdom Coming was in the house. I believe I got everybody. Let me scroll back to the bottom, see if anyone popped up. Melissa Hecker was in the house. And I think that's everyone. Thank everyone for tuning in.
All right. Sounds
Euler
good.
Greg, that's a pretty good one. This must be his bid for the contest. He says, I shifted 80,000 light years to Orion, and all I got was this T-shirt.
That's awesome.
I like that
It
one.
might have to be a shirt on its own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could probably do more than one, and you know what? We can have something. Maybe we can have something for second place and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Jocko R says his slogan, "You are not from my reality." It's pretty good. Yeah, I can't wait to see some of the slogans. So yeah, either leave them in the comments below the video or shoot me an email, shoot Hebrew an email, however you want to do it. Get us your slogan. I guess we're going to run it to what you say, the middle of September. That's wild. My anniversary is September 15th, so it was wild.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think we'll announce a winner the first Sunday in September, whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever the first Sunday is. Sounds good. So you got till the first Sunday, a few weeks, get your slogans in. Should be interesting.
All right. Well, for everyone here at the Hebrew channel, we would like to say good night, everyone, and tune in next week for Shifty Sunday. Thank you for for God's Armor and Sagittarically Speaking. This has been Hebrew. Good night, everybody. Hit that end broadcast button now. Oh, there it is again. All right. Cool.